Bro, it makes me laugh every time, dude. Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society? Shit, that's a hard question. Boys in the Hood. Yeah, Boys in the Hood. Jesus Christ, go down. Okay, so let's do some thank you notes first and foremost. We got a couple people to write thank you notes to. Strumming all right with a wooden pickup. Look at me. Okay, so first we got B. Renese. If I spell it wrong, my bad. I'm going to say big thank you. And I'm going to sign that. There's your thank you, B. Renese. And then we got to say thank you to Yemye. Ignore my handwriting. I don't care. I write like I'm a fucking doctor. And then who was that last one? Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Who gets thank yous? People that tip to Cash App or Venmo. I write a thank you note for them on the little whiteboard. Damn, Yemi was gone when I wrote their thank you. Sucks to suck. Sucks to suck, dog. Okay, we're here to debate. Topics on the board today. Trans men and women are men and women. Gender affirming care for minors. The Christian God is evil and not real. MAGA and Trump are terrible. Pro-choice. And the rights hypocrisy after Kirk's death is an embarrassment. Those are our topics today. Those are the topic train. That's the topic train. Yeah, I like my signature. It doesn't mean anything. It's just my first initial, last initial, and then a little scribble, but I like it. Please don't call if you're not here to debate today. If you call and you say, I just want to ask you some questions, I might lose it today. I'm only looking for ops. Only debates today. Only debates. If you're not here to debate, I don't know what to tell you. Crunchy Joints on YouTube said, you people are terrorists. Well, Crunchy Joints probably couldn't define terrorism if it bit them on the butt. I guess free speech doesn't matter to Crunchy Joints. Now, me, I like free speech. I guess Crunchy Joints doesn't. Because the minute someone says speech he doesn't agree with, it becomes, well, you're a terrorist. You was mean to me, and so I think it's terrorism. Because you're mean to me, everybody, you must be a terrorist because you're mean to me. I'm going to draw you a little baby bottle on my whiteboard. I can't really draw, but hopefully it looks like a bottle. No, it looks like a candle. I can't draw. Just pretend that it's a baby bottle. This right here. Pretend it's a baby bottle. Remember this is the baby bottle for you, Crunchy. And then I'll draw a little baby version of you who's sitting here holding the bottle. I can't draw, so this is little baby you. I don't know what the fuck this was. Here's your widow diaper and your widow wags. And I'll even give you like 2 little baby hairs. There you go. There's your widow baby with your bottle. I love free speech, unless that speech says stuff I don't like, and then in which case I don't like free speech. I don't like when you exercise your right to speech. I don't like it. I don't think y'all should be able to be free speechists. Such terrorism from the Carol. I just really want you to understand your terrorist. I don't care, dog. Nut up or shut up. Either call, like, I gotta open the call line. People either call the line or, like, being prudes. You can talk all you want, and I'll put it on blast, child. Anyone know what that means? Wait, I'll put the message on the board. Anybody have any fucking idea what this comment means? To me, it looks like somebody saying nonsense. That's what it looks like to me, is nonsense. But hey, who knows? Hello, are you here to debate?
Yep.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
My name is Nick, and he, him.
And your age, Nick?
Pronoun. Oh, my age is 18.
Okay, and what topic on the board did you want to talk about today, Nick?
I want to debate. Sorry, I can't see it. I want to debate the Christian gods, evil / not real.
Okay, are you a Christian, Nick?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Feel free. Go ahead and start.
Okay. Yeah. Like, my first premise would be, of course, I guess the probability. I'm guessing you're an atheist, right? Or
yes.
Agnostic. Okay. Yeah. Like my first probability, like claim would be like the origins of the universe, and of course the probability of us being a thing, right? Are you aware that like that number is like larger than a Googleplex, right? It's like so many zeros. So by that logic, I would say that being an atheist is just as much fictional as it is, for example, being someone who is religious or
sure. Nick, let's say that you're correct, and let's say that the probability of the origins of the universe, of life, of all these things is astronomical. How does this prove a God?
Yeah. Well, then it proves a God because, well, something had to have generated this series of events for us to be here. Like,
sure. Why did that something have to be a God?
Well, wouldn't something that creates, us, like, be held to a higher standing than us? Wouldn't that be called a God just by that logic alone?
Like, there's just as much evidence that you're claiming of a God being it that there could be for, like, let's say, I don't know, an alien species that's just like far more advanced, starting us in a petri dish somewhere and us blowing up. There's about an equal amount of evidence of the God as there is of like the universe just like starting itself, right? Like when you're telling me that you believe in God, and you're a Christian, so you believe specifically in the Christian God. And the reason you believe in the Christian God is because the universe is complex, and it probably would have, like, I don't know, it's really hard to try to understand where the universe came from. That's not a convincing argument. That's just you saying, like, I don't know where else it could have come from, so I went with God.
Well, the reason why is because, again, even if what you said, like, even if, that person, like, whoever did it wasn't, I guess what we would call God or something like that, just by the fact that they were able to create, that alone would put them in a higher ontological standing than us human beings, right?
What is it? So how does that make them a God?
Well, because the fact that they could create human life and create planets, create a universe, wouldn't that
Well, wait.
like
Why would I have to believe that they created planets? Like, right? What they could do is they could have created the Big Bang. They could have started like the chain reaction, and then everything else after that, random chance. We're not even We're not even the only planet in our solar system that's in the habitable zone. Like Mars could have and probably did have life on it prior to it losing its atmosphere. So like it's not like it's so random that like humans could be the only thing living. We're just the only creatures that we know about.
That's true, but usually the standards kind of get twisted a little bit when it comes to human life. Like for example, when they say life on Mars, it's probably some algae or bacteria or
that
something.
Yes, right now there is. We don't know what existed on Mars prior to Mars losing its atmosphere. We know there was water. We have a lot of strong evidence that Mars had water. We have strong evidence Mars had an atmosphere that could sustain life. But we don't know what was there because we weren't alive, and we haven't found any evidence of anything else being there yet. But this doesn't mean that there couldn't have been. So like when we're saying like, hey, it's so complicated. In order for humans to have shown up, there must have been some intelligent creator that did this. I would just reject this because there's no evidence for that. We're just filling in it. We're doing a God of the gaps argument. We're just filling in something we don't know about with a God, which I would just reject that.
I feel you. Again, like the God of the gaps argument, I can see how that's applied here, but how's it would you see it as an appeal to authority when you see people like of course the late Stephen Hawking alluding to the fact that there could possibly be a creator, right? And he was the most genius minds of our time, basically.
No, because Stephen Hawking is also just making a guess, right? He's not saying that there's a creator because he has some type of irrefutable evidence that there's a creator. He's also saying that it's possible there could be because we don't know. We don't know what started the universe. But I'm sorry, even if we want to get into the weeds, even if you're saying, well, there was a God, but also, hey, there was this specific God, right? You believe in a specific version of God. Yep. So not only do you not have to provide evidence that God exists, you have to provide evidence that it is your God that you're talking about. And I just think that saying that nothing else could have created the universe is not a convincing claim. How do I know it wasn't a plate of spaghetti that did it?
Oh, fair enough. But that was just I guess the something to warm you up or warm us up, I guess. But yeah, the main thing I want to talk about is of course the prophecies, right? Okay. The prophecies found in the Bible, right? If you look, I think it's Amos chapter 9 verse 15, right? You hear of this everlasting prophecy, right? For example, of Israel always being a thing. Right? If you told someone during for example, when Jewish people were a diaspora, even in the first millennium, right? First millennium when they were in Europe or in the Middle East or in different countries, right? Many of them, right, wouldn't have believed you, right? And the fact that Israel is always a long-standing country and it's still there till this day, that alone.
Well, no. I would say if this is the case, if we're saying that one of the prophecies is that Israel will always exist, then I would say God was dead wrong. Israel didn't exist Israel, as it is today, didn't exist until the 40s.
Of course, it didn't exist till the 40s. You're right, but if you read, I think again, if the verse, it says that basically
I will plant Israel in their own land, never again to be uprooted from the land I've given them. They were uprooted for a long time. They were uprooted. He said that they would. He said they would never again be uprooted, and they were uprooted. So he lied about that.
He did. Well, sorry. Oh man. Okay, no. He didn't lie because at the end of the day, there was constant Jewish presence. There wasn't a lot of it, right?
He said Israel specifically. He didn't say Israelites. He didn't say I will make this people and this people will constantly be in this area. He specifically said Israel, as a nation, as a place, and it didn't. And he said never again to be uprooted, and it was uprooted. So either God lied or God was wrong. There's only one way to interpret that.
No, not really, because when we're talking about Israel here, like there's usually this interchangeability between the people of Israel and of course Israel itself as the nation, Eretz Israel, right? I think that was making an allusion to, of course, the people of Israel, right? Jacob,
okay,
right?
If we're just saying that when it comes to this verse, that God created people, created like Israelites, and those people still exist. Okay, Egyptians still exist, Greek people still exist,
really.
Roman people still exist. Like what?
Not really, because, for example, the Egyptian people, right? They have no, for example, connection to their ancient language. The Romans, Italians don't speak Latin anymore. Maybe in terms of liturgical, like maybe while reading their Bible or stuff like that. But
what does that have to do? What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Their people are still there, just because they don't speak the language anymore. Languages can die and come and go like throughout a lot of different things. What does it matter that they can't speak the language?
Well, because the thing is, the standards shown in the Bible shows that, like, for the Jews to be the Jews, they must keep their customs, right? Specifically, the Jews of Israel, right? If they, because there was a lot of Jews that assimilated to their diasporas, like the Hellenic Jews and stuff like that. But the very fact that they've managed to preserve their culture, their religion, and a lot of their customs that they had before even the Second Temple destruction shows, in my opinion, that God's everlasting covenant with Abraham.
So your
right?
proof of God existing, or your proof of the Christian God, is that Jewish people didn't do away with their customs, and so God must be real, because these people still maintain a language and culture that existed at that time period.
Well, not only that, of course, the fact that they've actually been able to enter their land. Keep in mind, if there was no Israel,
what do you mean, able to enter their land? You told me it's not about the land; it's about the people. So, what does them being able to enter their land have to do with anything?
Well, I'll start with this. If you read Zechariah chapter 8. Right, that prophecy would have been null and void if there was no such thing as a land called Israel. Right, it basically talks about like Israel will one day, once they get their Messiah, and God will dwell amongst them, and the old men will be able to, like, it's basically telling us about a peaceful period. If Israel didn't exist, that wouldn't have happened. The truth is, like, even if we were to look at it half a millennium ago or 1,000 years ago, our conversation would have been some far-fetched imagination, because those lands were either conquered by, for example, the Muslims, right, or even the Christians, right? Which I would even make the argument that when they was conquered by Muslims, it was much more of an idea, like, realistic than, for example, the Christians, who were basically butchering Jewish pilgrims that were making their way to the land like 24/7.
Yeah, so this doesn't really seem to be evidence of a Christian God. This more seems evidence that, like, Jewish people were able to maintain a culture of customs. Why does God have to be at the center of this? Right? It seems like we're jumping between a few different things. You're saying it's not about the land, it's about the people. And because the people were able to maintain a specific culture and maintain customs throughout thousands of years, that this is evidence of a God. But there are tons of cultures and people that have maintained cultures and languages and practices throughout thousands of years. So how is it
like who? Let me pull up this modern period.
Let me pull up a few. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so how many do you want?
Well, you could give me one and I'll take it.
Sure. China has a culture that has existed for thousands of years and has maintained practices and languages for thousands of years. So are Chinese people also the promised people?
The reason why, of course, like Chinese people are of course not the promised people is because in the Bible it's specifically, like, again.
Yeah, but wait. You're using the Bible is the claim, right? So to say that the Bible is the claim and also the evidence to support the claim doesn't really work. You need evidence outside of the Bible to support the claim, because the Bible is the claim.
Well,
The Bible is what is claiming that the Christian God is God.
Well, I'm making the reason why I'm making that claim is because I'm saying, okay, I'm working my way from the top to the bottom. So I'm basically like, okay, these are the claims set by the Bible. If it weren't true, then like this would be it. This won't work. This won't work. This won't work. I'm saying that the very fact that a state of Israel exists, that alone makes the Bible true. But not only that, there's other evidence.
Yes, but again, your evidence was wrong. In Amos 9:15, God says, "I will plant Israel in their own land," which is him saying, "I will put Israeli people into a land that is their own, and that land is their own, that is their land." He then says, "Never again to be uprooted." But we know for a fact that Israeli people were uprooted from that land. He says, "Never again to be uprooted from the land I have given them." That is him very specifically saying they will never be removed from that land. They were gone. They were gone for hundreds of years. So my question is, did God lie about this, or was he wrong about this? And if either of those are true, it disproves the God of the Bible, because the God of the Bible is supposed to never lie. Supposed to not lie, and he's supposed to know everything. So he shouldn't be able to lie, he shouldn't be wrong. But he very specifically says, "Never again to be uprooted from the land I have given them." And they were.
Well, the thing is, I don't see it now. And the reason why I'll tell you that is because Jewish people have maintained presence even before.
What was the land? What was the land? What was the land that God gave the Israeli people? What land was it?
The land of Israel, basically, right? Or the land that wasn't it belonged to the Canaanites, so the land of the Canaanites. And the landscape is like of multiple modern different countries. Like if we're talking about biblical Israel, but yeah.
Yeah, what land was it?
I don't get what you mean by that question. Like, what do you mean what land it was?
Okay, so he gave specifically it was the land from between the Nile River and the Euphrates River.
Yeah, so that's pretty big.
He said he was giving this land specifically to Israel, never again to be uprooted, but they were.
They weren't.
They were.
Because if you look at it, how so? Can you tell me why?
Because they didn't have control of that land for quite a while.
They didn't. Of course, they didn't have control of that land for quite a while.
So that's being uprooted. That's being uprooted,
not
my
really,
friend.
Because they maintain presence. Like
okay, let me ask you a let me take an example. Were Native American indigenous people uprooted from their lands?
No, because we still see them, but they were conquered, right? They were a big.
They weren't uprooted. You're saying that indigenous Americans were not uprooted from their lands?
No, because I could still see some. You can still see some in reserves or whether it's
okay. So so as long as there's still a presence of some people there, it's okay. So it would be okay if I were to say abolish the state of Israel, give that land back to the Palestinians, and just let Israeli people live there.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be removing Israeli people from their land. That would just be.
Well, no. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. You'd be right. It wouldn't be. But the thing is I only made that argument when it comes to the land of Israel and it being called Israel because of Zechariah 8. If you read Zechariah 8, I'm saying that if the land was called anything else, let's just say it was called, Palestine, right? We'll call it that, right? That land would, Zechariah 8 won't work. It won't work because it clearly the state needs to be sovereign and it needs to be called Israel for
but it wasn't.
To dwell.
It wasn't for hundreds of years.
Yes,
it wasn't sovereign. It wasn't sovereign for Israeli people. It was not called Israel. So which is it?
Yep. Well, I'm not, again, like I said, the fact that today, now we can say, oh, they actually have their land. I'm like, oh, shoot, that prophecy ended up, coming, like, it ended up being a thing at the end, right? It wasn't some far-fetched. That's why I said it. Like, if we were talking about this 1,000 years ago, this would have been imagination. This wouldn't have been even a conversation to be had, right? But the very fact that in the 21st century, we're able to say, oh, these people are now alive and now a thing. Now we can get this prophecy jump started.
It just seems like you're cherry picking the words of God, and you're saying that I know what God said, but here's what God actually meant. Well, God doesn't speak really in metaphor, because metaphors would be considered a version of like a tall tale or not being as truthful. God's very direct in what he says, right? If God is saying that these people will never be uprooted from their land, and they were uprooted in such a way that they had to get other countries together to give them back their land, which I don't necessarily believe was theirs, but arguing from your point of view, that would have been an uproot. That would have like quite literally been an uprooting.
It wouldn't have been an uproot, because I'm telling you, before I'm telling you, before the state of Israel of today, if you look back then, if you looked at a lot of covers, like flags and stuff like that, a lot of them had the Magan David, or like the Star of David. Basically,
what is the relevant? What does that matter?
Because I'm saying that at the end of the day, they clearly had some sort of presence in there to be able to influence. Like
what the Star of David? The Star of David isn't only for Israel. Israel chose that star. No, it's not.
It is. Who else in the land is using that?
Wait. Israel chose that star because its significance to the Jewish faith. They didn't say we're going. Nope, you don't understand. You don't understand what I'm saying. The reason why they use the Star of David is because of its significance to the Jewish faith, not because it means Israel all the time, every time it's used. When the Nazis brandished the Jewish people with the Star of David, it wasn't them going, these are all Israeli people, because Israel didn't exist as a country. It was them saying, this is a symbol important to the Jewish faith, so we're going to use it to mark that these people are Jews.
Of course. Like that goes without saying. Of course, the symbol itself belongs to the Jewish people, but the people within the land who happen to have been Jews, they also consider themselves Israelis, and we know this because we have coins from back then talking about. And keep in mind, like that, the land wasn't even called Israel, of course, before the land was called Israel, right? It was called the land of Palestine. But every time the land was called the land of Palestine, if you looked at the coins, it always says Eretz Israel, land of Israel, land of Jacob. That was always what it was being called.
Yes, but again, you're just proving to me that people were uprooted. You're just proving this to me. If you're going to say these people should have never been uprooted, right? This is what God is saying. God is saying specifically, he says, never again to be uprooted. These people will not be uprooted from this land. But you're even confirming to me that there were a bunch of people who identified as the group from this land who weren't there because they were gone. They were uprooted from that land. They didn't have control of this land anymore.
Dude, they weren't gone. Come on,
what?
You already know my definition.
How the fuck did they get to Germany and Poland and Russia and all these other places?
Well, of course, a strong amount of them were like sent there, but I don't think you understand when people were talking about uprooted, especially in Amos chapter 9, verse 15. Like, if you've seen what the Babylonians did to the Jews, a lot of them, like, they were damn near like extinction levels because they were being sent to Babylon, whilst the Babylonians were just taking charge.
Do you believe that the only way? Do you believe that the only way to uproot someone from a land is if nobody from that group that you uproot is there anymore?
Yes,
that's just
all the time.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. So I guess slaves from Africa were not uprooted from Africa because there were still some African people there.
Well, I would say yes and no. Yes, because of course the ones that were uprooted, yes, they did get uprooted. But as far as the land,
okay, so wait, if people were uprooted from that land, then that would hold. It doesn't matter if it was all of them. He said never again to be uprooted. If anyone was uprooted, it shows that God was either lying or wrong.
Look, man, I'll be honest. It's just a matter of interpretation for this.
It's not a matter of interpretation. Wait, no, it's not a matter of interpretation. What you're doing right now is you're arguing disingenuously. It's not a matter of interpretation. Never again to be uprooted is pretty staunchly clear. It's pretty cut and dry what that means. It means this people will never be uprooted, removed from this land, and they were.
They were if we're going by your standard, but if we want to, of course, make this on fair grounds, we'll have to like look at the Aramaic or the Hebrew to actually see whether our definitions are either true or not.
Okay, what you look at the Aramaic then?
Well, the thing is, okay. Well, how about this? How about I get into my next reasoning, and then that'll be my last one, honestly. My last reasoning, of course, like the Christian God being true, is just the amount of prophecy that Jesus himself said that ended up being true. Like the very fact that the second temple after, he died, right? If you ever heard of like the parables that he's made about how like, blessed are the people who basically didn't have children and all that stuff, because like the time that will come by when the Romans will sack Israel, like it will come like as soon as he died, and it happened, right? The temple was destroyed, and he came at a very crucial time where most of us know that without the temple there is no salvation for Jews. There is no salvation for anybody. Right.
Yeah, again, so you're just using the claim as the evidence right now, and I just reject using the claim as evidence. It's kind of pointless.
I'm arguing from the religious perspective, and I'm trying to.
No, you're saying that this is true because look at what this tells me. That's not evidence. That's claim.
Well, no. Because if we're looking at history, I'm telling you what happened. Right. Like again, once he died, the temple did get destroyed. Like we know this in terms of a historical lens. Right, we know that the Romans came later, right, and that's from their own writing, not like ours or anything like that. They destroyed the temple, right? And what they did to them was
this doesn't prove literally anything, but somebody does want me to move on. So if you want to chat again, you'll have to call in another day.
Right, take care.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was loud as fuck. Shout out to Jay. Here's a thank you note for you, Jay. I just don't know how you can go, they weren't uprooted. What? Even if I disagree with Israel, I can admit that like Israeli people were uprooted from that land all the time. They have a new Kirklist site. I better be on it. Call-in line's not open. Don't call until it's open. Homie said that that Native Americans were not uprooted is crazy. That's actually insane. How you can even make that claim that like Native American people were not uprooted is wild. Shout out for the super chat. Thank you. The Behold Network said Bible scholar here. The campaign into canon didn't happen. Also, 2 Sam 7 is the dynastic promise. Look at verse 16. The throne of David will be established forever, but obviously that didn't happen. So either God was a liar or God was wrong. Also, multiple instances of that in the Bible where God either lied or God was wrong. If you're enjoying the show today, remember you can tip for the entertainment. Cash App and Venmo are on the screen, or you can send a super chat on YouTube. Tips are appreciated, never required. I will still always be putting out content, whether you tip or don't tip. Topics on the board again, just so everybody remembers them. Trans men and women are men and women. Gender affirming care for minders. The Christian God is evil and not real. MAGA and Trump are terrible. Pro-choice and the rights hypocrisy on Charlie Kirk's death is an embarrassment. If anybody would like to chat, I'm going to open the call in lines. It is a first come, first serve basis. Whoever's call goes through first will be the first call I answer. That's just the way the call in line works. Call in lines are now open. Please only call to debate if you are calling because you want to just ask a question or anything. I'm just going to tell you that I'm just looking for debates today. Call in later for the rest of that. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns?
Charlie, 18, he, him.
Okay, Charlie, what are you calling to talk about?
Kirk's assassination.
Okay. Do you agree with the hypocrisy coming out of the right?
There
Should we call him back? We'll do a call back. I'm sure that wasn't on purpose. We'll do a call back. Okay, well, I tried. Can only do so much. If you don't answer a call back, nothing I can do. We'll open the call in line again. Hello, are you here to debate? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, what's up? You here to debate?
Yeah, my bad. Let me get. Yeah, I'm just here to debate. Let me just get that chicken parm in the oven real fast. Just take it 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, so the Christian God is evil and not real subject. I kind of do agree in some sense. Like, what is your stance on Israel? What do you think about Israel? I kind of heard you say something for a second, but you didn't elaborate on it.
My stance is Israel's currently committing a genocide, and I think they should be held accountable for committing a genocide. But can I just get your name, age, and pronouns?
So I don't have any pronouns, but Sahir,
I'm sorry,
25.
so just wait, you said you don't have any pronouns? So if I called you he, you would get offended by that?
No, I don't get offended. I just don't go by them.
Okay, no. So when somebody calls you he, him, that's incorrect?
No, I mean, yeah, that is correct, but I just don't.
So you-
I just don't
so you do have
recognize that.
pronouns.
My personal opinion.
So you do have pronouns. If it's correct to call
Okay,
you he,
yeah.
him, so that means you do. Okay, great. Just
Yeah.
making sure. Now, what
I'm
topic
here.
specifically did you want to debate about, you were saying?
God is not really evil.
Okay. Are you Christian?
No, I'm not Christian.
Okay. So what is your religious stance?
I'm agnostic.
Okay. So then what does it matter to you if I think the Christian God is evil?
Well, I think it's the Jewish God that's evil, because if we look at the dates of the release of the text, first comes the Torah, which is, let me pull it up real fast. First comes the Torah, which is 12,500 BC. Then comes the Bible, the Old and New Testament, because Old is the Torah, finalized in 50 to 400 CE, and the Quran was revealed in 610 to 632 CE. So, I mean, all of these books are literally just the Torah. It's just manuscripts and transitions and re-elaborations of the Torah. So, I mean, there's not really a point to argue, because you're just arguing what you believe as genocidal maniacs.
I'm sorry. The reason I think the Christian God is evil has nothing to do with like what Israel is currently doing, and it doesn't have anything to do with
it's the Jewish
Israel.
God, because the Jews wrote the book.
I don't think that Israel is doing what it's doing because of religion. So I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Yes, it is. And
just seems like you're trying to sprinkle in some anti-Semitism instead of looking at religion
no,
critically.
it's not anti-Semitism.
Hold on. Instead of it doesn't seem like you're looking at religion critically, because I can look at religion critically and say, yeah, most religions are pretty bad when you look at them on their faith. It seems like you're very specifically going against like Jewish religion, which seems like it would be a little anti-Semitic.
Which is like the whole Abrahamic, because the Adam and Eve stories and all the books.
Yep,
Which comes from the Torah,
Christianity also
the Babylonian Talmud stories.
Christianity also evolved past that. So, like, Christianity does have
yeah, that's why they reject Christianity, because they took their book and they put a spin on it to hate them.
Okay.
I plagiarize your work and then in the entire New Testament just talk trash on you. Of course, I'm not going to like you.
Okay. Is that all?
No, I was saying, do you believe Israel that like is like Jerusalem? Like that's where they came from.
I don't care one way or another whether it is or isn't.
Okay, well, let's say you can look into the Valley of Anam, because there's like a whole bunch of urns and ashes and artifacts of like child sacrifice, and then there's the Remembrance of My People, which is a documentary that shows like their history and their past, and they recreate human sacrifices via like a big ass bronze bull.
Okay. Yeah, this is getting very anti-Semitic-y. I don't know. It's has nothing to do with why I dislike Israel, and that would have nothing to do with why I dislike the thing. That's just no. Mm-mm. Yo, I'm not racist. I just hate black people. That's what it felt like. Because again, I dislike Christianity, right? I don't hate Christians. I hate the religion. I don't hate Christians. This guy was feeling like, and I'm not saying he said this, it was feeling very much like I dislike Jewish people because they are Jewish, which is odd. I think you could absolutely disparage a religion without disparaging their people. Yeah, I'm not going to do that one. Anyway, there are some conversations I just don't touch with the 20-foot pole. By claiming God is evil, you acknowledge he is real. Do you see the second part of that? And not real? I think Voldemort is evil too. Does that mean I think Voldemort is real? I must. Guys, Voldemort is real now, according to that guy in chat. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes, sir. Hello, how you doing?
Chilling. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Yeah, my name is Brian. I'm a male.
Okay,
I came here to debate you.
Sorry, you answered one of my. You answered one of my 3 questions. I'm going to need the other 2 questions to answer. I don't talk to people that can't follow directions.
You said my name, my pronouns.
I said I need your name, age, and pronouns. You gave me one answer to 3 questions.
I'm 21. My name is Brian, and
right.
I am a male.
Male is not a pronoun in the English language.
Okay, well, if I'm a male, then what do you take me as? He, him, right?
Who knows? Who knows? That's why I'm asking you.
Well, if I'm male, I would assume it's he.
Who knows? That's why I'm asking you. Are you able to follow those directions or no?
Yes, I am. He,
Great.
him.
Oh, see?
Perfect.
Didn't need to take 50 seconds to do that. Could have just done it at first.
Well,
okay,
I thought
Brian, it doesn't matter what you thought. I asked you a specific question you refused to answer, and it took us a minute to get you to do it. Brian, what topic on the board did you want to debate about?
I wanted to debate trans men/women are men or are women.
Okay. Sure they are. Why wouldn't you think they are?
Because I don't think someone who was biologically born as a man can be a woman.
Nobody's born a man. Do you acknowledge this?
Nobody's born a man?
Correct.
So I wasn't born. What was I born then? Let me ask you that.
Well, if we're going to put stand-ins of gender for sex, you were born a boy, right? You weren't born a man. That would be kind of weird. Did you have Benjamin Button's disease?
That's fair. boy, girl. Okay. I was born a boy. Fair.
Okay. Second of all, gender and sex are going to be two different things. While they have a correlation and a connection together, they're going to be separate and different. So can you tell me why you use gender terms to mean sex terms?
Why I use gender terms as a sex term.
Yeah, why do you
That's
use
what you're
gender
asking?
terms for a stand-in for sex terms?
Well, I think that's just the way it's been all throughout time. I think that when you're born a boy / male, whatever you want to address it as, I don't think that whether you go on this life declaring that you are a female, girl, a woman, I don't think that's viable in the same sense as me born as a Latin, for instance. I can't go around saying I am a Black American.
Okay, we'll get into all that. I just want to touch on your reasoning. You said the reason that you use gender terms for a stand-in for sex terms is because that's the way it's always been. Do you think that we should never change? Do you think language should never change and evolve? Because once we start using something, we should always stick with how it was originally?
No, but I think that
has the language we use currently evolved?
Wait, let me answer that.
You did.
Language is something that's been created by man.
Yep.
Correct? This, whatever you want to call gender fluid or what you came out the womb as, that was solidified. Doesn't matter. Before there was language,
I don't know what that sentence means.
Before there was language, there was male and female. You can't say, oh, because they changed the language, yada yada. No. You were born a man or your boy, whatever you want to say. You're born either a female with this and this chromosome or this and this chromosome. I don't think you can go around and change that.
Okay. Let me. So when I'm looking at what gender is and what sex is, they're two vastly different things. And one of the reasons I know they're different is because sex exists in like any animal that reproduces, whereas gender only exists in humans. We're the only creatures that have displayed a type of understanding or concepts around gender. Sex exists in all animals biologically. Now, if you're saying that gender and sex are synonymous and that gender and sex are the same thing, would you agree then that like a female dog is a woman?
Fair point. Agreed. A female dog is a woman. In the sense that it is the woman in the species of that animal kingdom. And will give birth to other animals.
So you believe female
dogs
are women?
As long as she has those chromosomes.
Okay. I'll ask you a question. When it comes to...
It's the female woman of that species, if you put it in that sense.
It's the female woman of that species. Got it. When it comes to the category woman, you're claiming that trans women cannot be women, correct?
No, trans men cannot be women or trans women cannot be men.
I agree with you. Trans men cannot be women. Great. We've come to an agreement.
Okay.
Wonderful. That seemed easy. I didn't know that you were in that support of the trans community. I will let trans people know that Brian, age 21, is in support of the trans community because Brian thinks that trans men cannot be women. I agree with you. Trans men cannot be women. Good job, Brian.
No. Because I was reading your thing, honestly. But can I just state this point? I don't have nothing against trans people. I think everyone has the free right to do whatever they want. You can cut your dick off or whatever you want to do. It doesn't bother me. What I just think and what my beliefs are is that I don't think someone born with XY chromosomes can go on and state something that isn't real, something that isn't true, that isn't factual, scientifically proven, that you can't be a woman. You can go and address the nation as a woman. Some people may respect it, some people may not, and to each their own. But my belief is just that I don't think you're a real woman, but I'll still respect you.
This is not
I won't call you by your pronouns. If that offends you, then I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this has to do with quite literally anything we're talking about. You're speaking.
We're talking about,
what you're doing currently is you're conflating science. You're conflating biology with gender. You're conflating the biology with the sociology, and sex is not gender, and gender is not sex. So when you say,
Okay, so let me.
if you're male, you have to be man, this would not be the case. And we know this would not be the case when we look at the way modern Americans engage, or not even Americans, modern people engage with gender in any like relevant and meaningful way.
Okay, so but okay, that's fair. Now, just to end it off,
I think we need.
I did agree with what you said about Israel. Israel, I do think it's committing a genocide.
I'm not, okay, we're not talking about Israel right now.
Okay, well, you were talking about it earlier, so I was just saying that you were right on that. That was all I was saying.
Okay, but I'm just letting you know that we aren't speaking about Israel right now. We're having a conversation about gender, sex, and all of that stuff. So, like, if you agree with me on Israel, great, cool, phenomenal. But that's not what we're talking about.
But I'm saying that the conversation has ended. We had just come to an agreement where I said I don't believe trans men can be an actual man, or if you're a woman transitioning to a man. So that's all I'm saying. You don't agree with me, respectfully.
Yes, because you don't know. I don't think you know what a man or a woman is.
Oh, you're right. I don't know what someone that has genitals.
Yeah, see that answered my question. You just that just answered my question. Yeah. If you believe that gender is just genitals, then yes, it tells me that you don't know what men and women actually are.
So you're telling me woman can be a woman without having genitals?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty.
Well, we're
pretty
agree to disagree.
Well, then great. So I don't do agree to disagree here. So if you're going to disagree with my stance, you need to like contend with my stance. So my question to you is, what is the necessary condition required of someone to be a woman?
I think you don't get a condition. You're either born female, male.
Okay.
And if you're a male, you're a man. When you grow up, you become a man. You do what a man has to do.
Okay.
When you're a woman,
I have to explain this to you first. Just hold on. I have to explain this to you first, because you don't know what I mean when I say the phrase necessary condition. Whenever we have category distinctions, and this would be anytime you classify something, anytime you categorize anything, if we're claiming that a category is exclusionary, and that means that only things that fit in that category, nothing else does, that means there must be some sort of trait exhibited by all things in that category that all things outside of that category do not possess. For example, if I say I have a road, and in order to drive on this road, it is necessary that you be a blue car. So only blue cars can drive on this road, right? That would be me setting a necessary condition for this road. Now, if I were to call the road woman and the cars be the trait, what is that trait? What is the thing that is required of all people that we would consider woman to have?
You would need the chromosomes to be a female.
Great. Which chromosomes are those?
That's why.
So in order to be a woman, you must possess XY chromosomes.
Yeah, it's either XY or YY. I have to forget. I'm not a big science dude.
XY chromosomes or YY chromosomes.
Man has a special chromosome. Female has a special chromosome. XY or YY.
Okay, so if you have XY chromosomes, you're a woman, and if you have YY chromosomes, you're a man.
I don't know, but it's either or. I can't tell you which one is. I'm not specifically 100%, but I know man has either XY or the other one has YY. Mixed match.
Okay.
I just don't know which one.
So right now what's happening is I feel like you came to an NFL game while you're still playing Pop Warner. Okay? So I will explain some things the and hopefully they sink in and you learn something from this. The chromosomes typically associated with females are XX chromosomes. They have two X chromosomes. The chromosomes typically associated with males are XY chromosomes. They have one X chromosome and one Y chromosome. Those are the chromosomes typically associated. Now, your claim is in order to be a woman, the condition or the trait that women possess, that necessary trait, that thing that all women possess, is XX chromosomes. They have to have those XX chromosomes. However, the problem with this is that we have medical understandings of how humans develop sexually, And there are tons of people who are female that have XY chromosome karyotyping, because sometimes females can receive a Y chromosome. These women can still get pregnant. These women can still give birth. Now, if we take
they get period?
hold on. If we go back to the road example, okay? Remember, the road is woman, right? Your claim was that the trait, the thing the cars all needed to possess, was XX chromosomes, right? Yep. However, here comes this car that has XY chromosomes that we still let drive on the road. That means that trait we said was necessary is no longer necessary to drive on the road. Okay. Because you can drive on the road without it.
Yeah. Can I ask you this? Where can I find like a article saying something like that? I can just look it up on Google, pop up.
Sure. If you look up, and I'll put it on the screen for everybody that wants to see it. This is a case study from 2013. It's pregnancy and delivery in a patient with pure 46XY karyotype. Summary of actual knowledge about XY women.
Okay.
So if you go back in the stream after the fact, you can see the case study on the screen at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I've never.
So the issue that we're having here, is you're claiming this is a exclusionary category, and that category, the only way to be, right, you're saying this road is a blocked off road for everyone but women. And yet here comes someone that doesn't have what you said would make them women driving on the road. So my question is, if it's not XX chromosomes, if that doesn't appear to be what's necessary to be a woman, what would be? What is the actual thing that is necessary?
I'm just gonna go back to the point that you had just made for 1 second, because I've never heard of that. That was new to me, to be honest. So I'm gonna look into that. I'm curious to know. I don't know if you know the answer or not. You said that those women or those females that are born with XY chromosomes, do they menstruate? And you said they could give birth, correct?
Yes, they can give birth. They have functional uteruses.
Okay, I'm gonna look into that. That's interesting. That's interesting. So sorry, what were you saying again? That was just on my mind. I just had to re-ask that.
My question to you is, what is the necessary condition required for someone to be a woman if it's not chromosomes? What is something that all women must possess and anyone who is not a woman does not possess?
I think the right to give birth. Because if now you're telling me a woman with XY chromosomes can give birth, then I'm kind of, I gotta really look into that, because I don't never heard anything like that, and I'm gonna look into it. But then I would say giving birth is, or having the opportunity to give birth would classify you as a woman.
Okay, so in order to drive on this road, which remember we have very strict rule on this road that you must have something, you're saying that strict rule, in order to drive on this road, the thing that you must have, the trait the car must possess, is going to be being able to give birth. But here comes a Ford. That Ford can give birth. We let that Ford go through. Here comes a Honda. That Honda can give birth. We let that Honda go through. Now here comes a GMC. Now that GMC has XX chromosomes. That GMC has a uterus. That GMC has a bunch of stuff, but can't give birth. They're barren. They're infertile. They're infertile. They can't give birth. Okay. So we have to tell this GMC, sorry, you're not a woman. You can't drive on this road.
No, but that's something that you get medically, so that's different. That's an exception.
Okay, so here's just something for you. A necessary condition. So remember, that's the trait that's required to drive on this road. It can't have any exceptions, whether medically or not.
Yeah, but
any exceptions break the rule. This isn't the case where you can go like, the exception doesn't break the rule, right? In a necessary condition, the exceptions, like, just conceptually, they absolutely break the rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then, do we agree? Do you agree with me that it's not actually the ability to give birth? because there are going to be some women that can't give birth.
No, but of course, there's also going to be infertile men. But yeah, I agreed. But I'm just trying to think like.
So, yep. So now let me take you to the step that I take. So I've done my research on human sexual development, and I've seen that basically any trait we pick that has to do with sex, right? Anything that we decide is going to have something that breaks the rule. So now what do we do? If we know that it can't be something that has to do with biological sex, but we know that as humans, we categorize men and women, we know that we like instinctually or fundamentally know that there might be a difference between men and women. So there's got to be something else. There's got to be something. Now, my question goes, well, why can't that something be internal to like your brain? Why can't it just be that the way our brains kind of hardwire themselves, right? Some of our brains hardwire to be men, and some of our brains hardwire to be women. Some of our brains hardwire to be neither. Why can't that be the thing that determines what we are? If there's no biological trait that won't have the exception, this doesn't have an exception, right? What your brain is hardwired to is what your brain is hardwired to. There's no exception to this. Why can't that be the trait?
That's a good point, but I'd have to just do more research on it. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think that's just what I believe in. I'd have to just do more research. So
what's happening right now, Brian? What's happening right now? And I'm speaking to you like super bro to bro right here. What's happening right now is you are fighting against some instinctual feeling that you have. And that instinctual feeling, I can't spell instinct, that feeling, that like instinct that you have is telling you that, hey, trans women cannot be women, trans men cannot be men. You're fighting, and that instinct right now isn't really based on anything scientifically because we've gone through all the science there. So that instinct is fighting up against you learning new information. And the new information is telling you, wait, what this guy is saying, that might be true. It might be true that like we have to look at some internal way that we critique ourselves, and like using that internal critique and using the way that gender sort of operates in the modern day, it would make sense that trans women are women. Now, this isn't saying that trans women are 100% going to be female all the time. This isn't even saying that you can necessarily change your biological sex, even though I do think that there is, especially phenotypically, we can change our biological sex, right? This is just saying when we look at gender as a social category, the only way to make a distinctor on that is a social way, which would come down to the way our brains basically function and think and work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're fighting this. I don't think you need to. It is okay to recognize, I could change.
I would say I would retract my statement then, while I do more research on this, and say that trans men or people transitioning from male cannot become female is really it then, and stick with and do more research on what you said about gender. Look into that more, and that's it.
Okay, I would still contend with that, but we're at a good stopping point in the conversation. We don't have to stop at 20. I just think we're at a good stopping point of the conversation. I would disagree with that. So if you want to take what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to post this like I post most of my debates. Go back and listen to it. Like seriously, when I post this video, go back and listen to it, and then call in after you've listened to it, after you've thought a little bit about it, and see where your mind is at after that.
All
right. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day, Jovan.
You too. Don't let cognitive dissonance stop you from learning, chat. It doesn't have to stop you from learning. I do want to address somebody in the chat said exceptions can't prove the rule. Yeah, exceptions don't break the rule. They do with a necessary condition. Yes, exceptions break the rule 100% every time. The word necessary can have no exceptions. That's just the nature of the word. Let's go through our super chats and say thank you to everybody who super chatted. Thank you to who do we got? Thank you to Ian Crypto, who said monies. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you to Tyson for the $5 super chat. Said, hey, JB, would you ever be open to a discussion about Eastern religions like Taoism? There's interesting contrasts against the Abrahamic worldviews there. Maybe. I don't know anything about them, so obviously, like, it would be something that I have to learn. And then a super chat from Vampy said, why didn't you pay attention in school, Brian? I don't know, Brian. Answer Vampy and say and tell them why you didn't pay attention in school. Oh, we also got a super chat from Danny. Hold on. Danny said, I appreciate you encouraging open critical thinking about any issue from any viewpoint. Peace and love to you and all. Thank you so much, Danny, for the super chat as well. Remember that if we do hit our goals on either Twitch or YouTube, we do merch giveaways. Twitch is about halfway to a merch giveaway. Shout out to Twitch for that. And YouTube is about 1/4 of the way to a merch giveaway. So shout out for that. We are going to open the call in line and get going again with more debates. Feel free to call in. First come, first serve on the call in line. Please don't call in if you agree. I will just be asking you to call back later. We're not doing office hours right now. Don't call in if you just have questions. Call in if you openly disagree. That's what we're doing at the moment. Call in line is open now. Call in if you disagree with me. Any of the topics on the board. Do. It's been a good day. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yep.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Jason, 22, and he, him.
Jason, 22, he, him. Okay, Jason, what topic on the board were you calling to debate about today?
The trans debate.
Okay, did you listen to the previous call, or are you new to the stream?
Well, both. I listened to the previous call, and this is the first time I've seen you.
Okay. Do you disagree that trans women are women and trans men are men?
Yes.
Okay. What's your basis for disagreement?
I wanted to, because you didn't get into it with the last caller. I was gonna ask, so like why? All right, so me as a black man, right? Why can't I say that? Why can't I say I'm white now?
Sure. Sex and our gender and race are going to be two different types of classifications. Gender is an internal critique of the self. It's about how your brain engages with your own biological sexual makeup, and how that brain then engages with the society around you and the cultural and social norms created in that society. Race is a legal classification placed upon people by some state governance. Race didn't exist until race needed to exist in order to oppress. Race is an external classification. So the reason why I am identified as black is because legally I'm identified as black. There's a legal distinction between races, and I was deemed black, right? It's not because I have some inherent thought process of being black, right? That doesn't exist. I might have some level of shared cultural stuff with other black people, but there is no there's no part of your brain that's going like, oh, I am a black man, right? Like you wouldn't even, if you were raised to not see race, you wouldn't know black from white, right? You would just know that you look a little different from somebody else. So the way I distinguish them is that race is an external classification and gender is an internal classification.
Okay, and I had a point that you said when you were bringing up the GMC and all that.
Mhm.
I had a point when like I was thinking like when you said that like it wouldn't change like the fundamental nature of it. Like you just be a broken down GMC. Like you see what I'm trying to get at?
No, it would change the nature of the road. The roads. So in the example that I gave, the road is going to be the stand-in for woman, right? The
Right.
cars are stand-ins for traits. So all these cars can still run. The cars are just different traits. And in order to run on this road, you must possess that trait that makes you a woman, right? So when I say here comes a car, like two cars, a Ford and a Ferrari that can both give birth, those cars can go on the road because remember that's what the previous caller said. He said giving birth was the trait that was necessary. But then here comes a car that can still drive, it just can't give birth. That car shouldn't be allowed on the road now, but it is. So then giving birth can't be the trait that makes it so you can drive on this road. Because even if you can't give birth, you can still drive on the road.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. Honestly, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Honestly, I just wanted to see your point more on that, like specifically on the race thing, because that's the main thing I disagree with. But honestly, I still disagree with you. But hey, you know,
What's
it is what it
the
is.
disagreement? Because we can. What is the thing that you like? Like what's your race? Like what race are you?
I'm a black man.
Okay. Are you a black man because you wake up and you feel black? Or are you a black man because the government has deemed you black and therefore you're thrown into this racial category?
No, it's that I look at my skin and I see that I'm colored, and I also come from African descent.
Yeah, so you're just describing a shared lineage, right? Gender wouldn't be about some like shared lineage, right? So when we're talking about race and the creation of race, right, and how race has been like utilized, black, white, these racial distinctions are fairly new when it comes to human history. Now there were still differences in phenotype. Like obviously when we say we have black skin, we're not saying we all have the same color skin. Like I'm black and you're black. Do you look darker than I do?
I ain't gonna lie, we probably the same shade.
Okay, let's say we have somebody who's black and darker, or somebody who's black and much lighter. They're still classified black, even though our skin color is not the same in any way, shape, or form, right? Even though I might be mixed with white, I'm still legally classified as black, even though half of me is white, right? Like my grandmother is a white woman, right? It doesn't matter. Legally, I'm classified as black because race is a legal started as a legal classification. We don't like, I don't feel like a black man, right? And even then you go, what does a black man feel like? It's like when we look at that comparatively to gender, right? Like I said, gender is the way our brains interpret our own sex. Our brains aren't interpreting our race past saying this color means you're this.
Like I see your thought process, but like me personally, I still have to say that like me being like okay, like man, I just fucking.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Italian people are white?
No, I think they're Italians.
I'm not asking about their nationality. I'm asking about their race.
Right, and I think, and honestly, I've always been under the assumption that Italians would be of the Latino like descent. You know, I wouldn't like classify them as white.
Yeah, sub on Twitch, nice.
There's white Latinos. That's an ethnicity. I'm talking about race. Are there black Puerto Rican people?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there black Dominican people?
Right.
Are there black Cuban people?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm asking about race specifically, not about ethnicity or nationality. So Italian people, typically, what race are they going to be?
Then they would fall under the white category.
Yeah. But for decades, Italians weren't classified as white. They weren't classified as white. Like legally, you weren't white if you were Italian. Because race is not an internal thing. It's an external thing. There are even examples of God, I would have to go back and look this up. It's been such a long time, of black people who were classified legally as white because of some X, Y, or Z thing that happened. I don't have the example off the top of my head. I'd have to like look it back up. It's been a while since I read about it. But all of this essentially, Irish people too. Irish people were not classified as white by like the general legal majority. They weren't classified as white. So like this tells me in just the relation humans have with race, it's an entirely external thing. It's not internal. What would be internal is like the shared cultural oppression that black people face, right? That's something internal, right? Well, internal in the way that we like internalize it, and like we can all share some common level of understanding with each other because we all go through that,
Right.
but like I don't know, like what does it mean to be black? Like all I have to do to be black is to have a black phenotype, right? And come from an ethnic background of black people. So that would be my stance on that.
But I feel like the gender is different though. Like as in like
I agree.
Not different completely, but like different as in like it's I don't know.
Gender is vastly different because when it comes to gender, our brains like to categorize. We just have human brains that categorize things, and and that internal categorization, the internal way that we categorize things directly ties into how we identify, right? So because our brains do this and it's unconscious and it happens automatically, when it comes to gender, our brains are categorizing internally in a gendered way. When we look at things, whether you agree with it or not, our brains will sometimes be, this is for boys, this is for girls. And it's not because we necessarily believe that this needs to be some way that we structure things socially or societally. It's just because our brains have classified our own understanding of these things in that way, right? So our brain doesn't really do this in a racial way, right? Our brains weren't really programmed that way. Race is a learned thing. It's a learned behavior. It's all of those things are learned, whereas gender, I don't know if I would say gender comes naturally, but like the classification on things gendered seems to be the case that's just a way our brains naturally classify.
But at the same time though, like, okay, like all right, for instance, the trait thing, I would say for the traits to classify you as a woman, that you would have to be biologically born female, to be able to have like not have kids, but like born with a uterus, you know.
Sure, we can look at those two things.
then
Like if you're saying that in order to go on this road, you have to be born female and you have to have a uterus. Well, one of those we would have to cut out because plenty of women are born without uteruses. Plenty of like female body people are born without uteruses in their body. So it can't be that. And the next, be born female, tons of creatures are born female. My cat was born female. But you and I both know that we wouldn't classify animals in the same way. And that's because gender reaches some other level of social classification, which is the human part. Now you could make the claim like, hey, in order to be a woman, you must be born female and be human. And that, if those are your necessary conditions, sure, we can get into the latter, the female part, and I think that will break it a little bit, but that's fine. But like, let's just say human and male, must be human, must be born male. And that makes you a man, right? I'm going to use man for my example. But let's just hypothetically, not saying that this is a real thing, but like let's just roll with the thought experiment. Let's say fucking Superman is real.
Okay.
Superman wouldn't be a man, right? What is he?
He'd be a Kryptonian.
Yeah, so you like his name is like inherently wrong. Now, me and you both know if Superman was real, whether he's an alien or not, we would still consider him a man. We would call him he. We wouldn't be sitting here going, "Oh, well, you're lying if you call him he him," right? Because there's some social thing that he's exhibiting that registers as man to us. It's not just about his DNA or his anatomy or things like that. It goes into some other categorization that our brains do.
Okay, so like with but with Superman though, right? He still has like human male genitalia to be able to procreate with the.
He wouldn't have human male genitalia. He has Kryptonian male genitalia.
True, but it's still compatible enough to mate with a human female.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that just means that his DNA, that Kryptonian DNA and human DNA are similar enough that they can reproduce. It doesn't mean that they're of the same species. Plenty of interspecies can reproduce.
They're compatible enough to reproduce. You got John Kent.
Yeah, but what does that mean? He's still not human. Just because his DNA is compatible with humans doesn't mean that he is a human.
No, I'm not arguing that he's human. I'm arguing that he's male.
You can
by our standards.
Wait. You can make the argument that he's male. You can make the argument that he's male. Sure, that it would appear to be that Kryptonians reproduce in the same sexual dimorphic way as humans, right? Absolutely, he could be male. But if we're saying that Superman is male and therefore that makes him a man, but he's not human, then I can make the claim that literally any animal is a man that is male. Because you don't have to be human to be a man. You just have to be a male.
But if you reproduce in the same way that a male does from any other species, then yeah, you would be a male.
Yes, but I'm not talking about what are male and men, right? When I'm having the conversation about gender, we're talking about what's a man and what's a woman.
But that would inherently make you a male, and men are usually male.
Wait, hold on. I agree. Something you said just now, I agree with. Men are usually male. I agree. Most of the time, if you're a male, you're also a man. Human-wise, right? I agree with that. But sometimes, right, I'll take your word usually and I'll change it to typically. Men are typically male, but some men aren't. They're going to be the atypical. They're going to be men who are not male.
They would still have like majority of the statistics. Not the statistics. They have majority of the traits to still be put in a male category.
What are the okay? So now we have to look at those traits. In order to be considered a male, what traits must you possess? What is the necessary condition?
Like you don't have to be all or nothing. Like,
well, if we're claiming that a category is exclusionary, it does have to have a necessary condition to it. That's the only way to make it an exclusionary category. If there is nothing that's required of you to be in said category, then there's nothing barring anyone else from being in said category. We don't have that necessary condition. So if you're telling me that there is, like, being a male, there's not anything necessary to be a male, but being a male is what you must possess to be a man, well, then we can't make that determination if there's not a necessary for male as well.
I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, I see what you're saying, and like I just can't agree with you, honestly.
Okay, so we're in sort of the same area I was in with the last caller, right? You have this disagreement. You don't really know why you're disagreeing, right? Like you're recognizing that like what I'm saying makes logical sense, and you're fighting right now against some intuition that you have that's saying to you, well, trans people can't be the gender that they say they are, right? I am okay with us having a disagreement on this, but you would need to articulate why you have that disagreement. I think if we disagree with people, but we can't really articulate the logical reasons why we have those disagreements, I think we're just fighting against changing our minds at that point.
Yeah, you
And there's
just
nothing
arguing just to argue.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with you changing your mind on this topic, right? It doesn't change who you are. I think it might make you a little bit better of a person, because I think that like just acceptance in general is better than non-acceptance. But like there's nothing wrong with taking in new information. You might not be able to do it today. It might not be something our brains fight so hard to change. They literally actively, like it's like they do it on the chemical level. They fight themselves. So it might not be something you do today. You might need to think about it for a little bit. But if you can look at the things that I'm telling you and you can say logically, everything he's saying makes sense. It makes sense that there's not some one biological trait that connects an entire gender to another. It makes sense that we engage in gender in some social way. It makes sense that it's this internal critique of how we look at ourselves. If you can see all of this, right? And you're saying, well, I disagree just because, then I think you know as well as I know that, like, one, it seems your mind is open to change a little bit more than others, but like you don't have that logical reason not to change it.
I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to do the same thing as the last guy, I'll post this video. You go back and watch it, and maybe call back in after you've watched it and like thought about it for a little bit. But like I said, I think you have the ability to change, and I think you should take that ability that you have and utilize it anytime you get new information about something.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, all right, I'll do that. I'm glad that you're able to actually have conversations with people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. You have a good rest of your day.
All right. Yep, you too, bro.
Damn, I'm on a roll. As I say to you guys all the time, I match energies. So Jason's energy was that of which we could have a civil conversation. It seems like he's willing to change. I match that energy. The guy before Jason seems like he was willing to change. I match that energy. If you guys enjoyed those two conversations and you're like, damn, Jovan, we want to tip you for this great work you're doing. Cash App and Venmo are on the screen. You can also send super chats on YouTube as well. And I've got a PayPal and stuff on the Twitch. You can do all that fun stuff. Ooh, my back. My neck and my back. My back hurts from carrying these debates on the internet. I'm just kidding. What was I about to do? Oh, we had a super chat I want to read. Shout out to Zurith Moonpaw said Pengus. Thank you for the $5 super chat, friend. Okay, let's open up the call-in line. Remember, first come, first serve on the call-in. Please call in only if you disagree. If you do agree with me, I'm going to ask you to call back a different day. Mondays are not for agreement conversations. So, Samantha, thank you for the $10 Cash App. Thank you so much. I'm going to write you a thank you note here on the whiteboard. Samantha said, thank you to those who are willing to sit and talk. I agree. People who are willing to sit and actually listen and change their minds and stuff. I do think that those people are better than others. So, Samantha, I'm going to write you a thank you note here on the board. Thank you. And here's my shiggy. Thank you, Samantha. Also, welcome to everybody that's usually listening on the line. Welcome into my channel. If you're here for the first time, hi, I'm Jovan Bradley. I'm a leftist, political content creator who also loves debates. I believe debate is one of the best ways to offer information. I think it's one of the more entertaining ways, and I love doing this, and I'm going to continue doing this unless I get kirked. Anyway, call-in line is wide open. Feel free to call in. First come, first serve. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes.
Okay. What's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Doug, D-O-U-G, age is 30, pronouns are he, him.
You said he, him?
And I'm going to apologize in advance. I am on the job site right now, so if it gets a little loud, I apologize.
Okay, no problem. Doug, can you just let me know what topic on the board you wanted to call in to talk about?
Yes, I wanted to talk about religion, your stance on Christianity.
Okay. I do believe, I don't believe in Christianity, but if Christianity was real, I would say that the God of the Christian Bible is pretty evil. Do you disagree with this take?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'll just let you know my stance to begin with. I believe that if God operates in the way that the Christian Bible says it does, which is that the God of the Christian Bible is all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good, and all-seeing, that inherently this being would have to be evil because he would allow for mass amounts of suffering that don't need to exist. I would also just say, based on the things he's done in the Bible, he's also pretty evil because he's done some like truly fucked up shit.
Okay. First and foremost, I would say that God, being a creator, one of the things that is believed in Christianity is that the sort of gift, sort of double-edged sword that was given to humanity by God was the ability of free will and free choice. And so basically by giving humanity free will and free choice, he has not created evil, but allowed man to choose evil. So that's sort of one of the cruxes of Christian belief and Christian theology, is the ability to choose evil or to choose good.
Sure. Could you do me a favor when you're done speaking, if you could mute your mic, just because the background noise, I know you said you're on a job site, the background noise is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
In response to what you said, I don't believe under a Christian worldview that we have free will or free choice. Some of the reasons for that is everything is done according to God's plan. So if I can never do an action that's outside of God's plan, I don't really have freedom of choice. Everything I do is in accordance with what God wants to happen. Second, God absolutely created evil. God created everything, the heavens and the earth. He created good and evil. He created light and the dark. Everything came from God. You could make the argument that, like, no, God didn't create evil. Satan created evil, but God created Satan, therefore creating evil. So those would be my two contentions for what you said.
So the creation of evil is not necessarily like God created evil, correct? But it is there
for the like dichotomy of man, right? Like it is there. If you give mankind free choice, you have to give them a right and a wrong to choose between. So in giving humanity free will and free choice, what the Creator has done is essentially provide opportunities for mankind, for his creation, to choose a right and a wrong. And so by having to give free will and free choice, you have to allow for the opportunity to choose incorrectly, right? If there's no choice there, then you don't have free will. It's all predetermined, which is, I sort of disagree with, God has a plan, as they say, right? But the plan isn't necessarily like a step-by-step blueprint. It is more of like a sort of like an end destination, right? Like if you and I are going on a road trip, there's, we're going from California to New York. There's a lot of different highways and byways that we could take, but as long as our end destination is the same, then we still follow the overall plan.
Yeah, sure. I would just say that under the predication of what you just labeled, God would not be an all good being. He functionally can't be an all good being. If he's saying that evil only exists because he created it and he allows us, his creations, to engage in evil, even if the evil we engage in harms innocent people, this would mean that he allows for the harming of innocent individuals because he wants us to be able to choose good. I would say that's not an all good being, because those innocent creatures that get harmed, they didn't do anything to deserve that evil placed upon them. Second, when it comes to right and wrong, God sort of didn't even, like, God punished us in example for like, when we look at the story of Adam and Eve could do no wrong. There was only one thing that they could not do, just one, and that was eat from the tree. And the tree had all the knowledge of good and evil on it. So when they ate from the tree, that was all of the knowledge of good and evil. So Adam and Eve had no concept of good and evil because the tree had the knowledge of it. So they didn't even know that what they were doing was wrong until they ate from the tree. Second of all, when we say that God provides opportunities to choose and that they're like, life is because of choices, there's no predetermination. God, as classified in the Bible, is an all-seeing, all-knowing being. So we don't actually have the ability to choose because God knows what we're going to choose 100% of the time, and we can't choose opposite. So, like, if I had Cheerios for breakfast, God knew thousands of years ago I was going to have Cheerios today. And there was no way for me to pick something that God did not know would happen, right? He knew for 100% fact. It'd be different if you were saying, well, there's branching pathways and God knows what all the branches are, but he doesn't know which one specifically you're going for. But no, he does know what specific one I'm going to be. That is predetermination. If it has been predetermined thousands of years ago that I was going to eat Cheerios today, that's predetermination.
So I would argue that it's less predetermination and more like pattern recognition, right? So like if, he knows that you're going to choose Cheerios, like today is probably not the first day you decided to choose Cheerios, right? Like there's, based on choices and your history that you have made previously, like you are on a specific trajectory in a way that we as individuals will not be able to predict, right? Like I'm not going to be able to, no matter how often I watch you or no matter how much I can understand your pattern or lifestyle, like I would not be able to predict what you're going to choose for breakfast. But being a creator that has the ability to see all, you would inherently be able to understand the trajectories of people's life paths based on choices in their own history and based on patterns that they have essentially laid forth with their own free will, right? And a person that wakes up and commits murder has that in their heart to do that. That's not something that they just wake up one day and decide, like, I'm going to go kill someone today. Like might be the day issue, that happens, but there's a pattern that has been laid before that.
There is a fundamentally like flawed thing in what you said here, because you're saying that God is just sort of making a prediction based on pattern recognition. This wouldn't be an all-knowing God then. He doesn't actually know all, he guesses all, right? If like the Bible claims, God is an all-knowing being, he's not predicting or making a guess. He knows 100% for sure what we're going to do because he sees all things at all time and he knows all things at all time. But because time is linear for us, and because God has existed during linear points of time, that means that he knows and sees the future. So when God showed up to Moses as the burning bush, when he was that bush, he knew everything that would ever happen ever, which means that's a prediction of the future, right? So my issue is that if God is predicting the future and God knew before the universe was created how the universe would go, how every single action in the universe would take, he knew this before he created the universe, then we were on a predetermined path, and nothing you or I do is going to kick us off of that path. We're always going to do what God foresaw us doing before we even existed.
Right, but like you said, it's prediction based on, like, he knows the choices that are being made, and so it's like, if you're a supercomputer and if you're using a supercomputer to take, a critical thought to a logical conclusion, that supercomputer is going to be able to compute it, very fast, much faster than any individual would, right? So if you have like some, formula that you put into a supercomputer and you ask it to provide an answer, it's going to be able to go through every single step of that formula much faster than any human would be capable of doing. So it would instantaneously know and understand what the logical results of that would be, the same way that, like,
the issue with what you're saying is that God wouldn't be all seeing. If this is the case, he's not all seeing. Or, I'm sorry, he's not all knowing. He's not all knowing. He's all seeing, but he's not all knowing. And God would have to be all knowing. Like, per the Christian Bible, God is an all knowing being. He knows everything for 100% certain. If you're saying he sees all of these branches and he's just making an educated guess about which branch we're going to take based on pattern recognition, then he does not know all. He's not all knowing. Which, if God's not all knowing, that will change the premise of the conversation I have a little bit, right? I'll cut the all, like, that would get rid of this part of the conversation, right? But if God is all knowing, then he knew about all evil that would happen to man prior to man even doing anything to earn that evil ire. And if God is, and the only reason that man is experiencing, per the Christian religion, all of this evil is because Adam and Eve ate the fruit that God knew they were going to eat. God knew Adam and Eve, beyond a shadow of a doubt, were going to eat from this tree. He set them up with a test he knew they would fail, and then punished them for failing the test.
I would have to go back and look at this and look at scripture, but I'm pretty sure that when he created the Garden of Eden, it sort of states that when he created man, when he created the Garden of Eden, it wasn't like a supervised thing, like at that point in time, right? Like, you see, that was prior to him sort of like deciding to use his omnipotence and omnipresence in order to sort of keep more hands-on with humanity. This was at a time where, like, the 7 days of creation were still in process, and so he essentially, after Adam and Eve had chosen to eat from the fruit of the tree of knowledge, that was like his only explicit, like, direction not to do. That was like his only explicit thing that he had said not to partake in. And so it was the serpent, one of his other creations that he had also given free will and free choice to, that had corrupted and tempted Eve in order to eat from the fruit of the tree of knowledge. And at that point is where God basically, like, intervened and said, okay, like, you, like this is now, like, your curse. Like, you've sort of cursed yourself with knowledge of good and evil, and therefore have created this lineage of, like
No,
now
but it's
good
not
and
even. It's not even just that they
is
curse
available
themselves
to
with
the
the
world.
knowledge. God kicks them out of the Garden of Eden. Here they are in a place where they can experience
Right.
no pain, where it's bad things do not happen to them, and God kicks them out. He forces them out of the Garden of Eden, off of a lie, by the way. He lied to them about what would happen if they ate the fruit. And so, because what happens is God says, if you eat of this tree, on the day you eat from this tree, you will surely die. And the serpent comes along and says, God's lying to you. You're not going to die if you eat from that tree. Now, Adam and Eve listened to the serpent, right? And they're proven right. God did lie to them. They did not die when they ate from the fruit. When they ate from that tree, they did not die. The serpent was right.
I think that could be more interpreted, though, as not like physical death, but more like spiritual death, or like, you know, eternal death. Like what that's more referencing is the fact that like you have immortal beings that now become mortal and are cursed to die. Right.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it's not necessarily in the literal sense, the day that they eat it, they're going to die. It's more of like now you have given yourself mortality.
Yeah, I just reject that interpretation. God's pretty explicit when he tells people they're going to die. Like if I am God, right? Let's say I'm the Lord, and I know, because I'm all knowing and all seeing, that people are going to debate about my words in the future. And I know that some people are going to think I mean spiritual death, and some people think I mean literal death. Why didn't I clarify? Why didn't God clarify and tell them specifically? Because that also would have assuaged Adam and Eve, right? If God had told Adam and Eve honestly what would happen to them if they ate of the fruit, they probably wouldn't have done it. But he wasn't honest to them. Like if he had said, if you eat from this fruit, I'm going to kick you out of the garden and you will no longer be able to stay with me. Instead, he tells beings that are, what were they, a couple of days old at that point? You'll die if you eat this fruit. I know I've said nothing in this garden can kill you, so you don't have any reason to believe that eating this fruit will make you die. But if you eat this fruit, you'll die. And if God really didn't want them to eat the fruit, like if his thing was, I'm testing them, that's it. If he said, I'm just testing them, this is all a test. Why did he set the test up in a way that they were 100% going to fail? Why not set the test up? Also, why not? Because if he can do anything, why not set them up with a test he doesn't know the answer to? Wipe his own mind. Make him like turn off your omniscience for a little bit. Give them a test that you don't know the answer to and that you don't rig. Because the test is rigged. He let the snake into the garden. He's rigging his own test.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's rigged, but what you said about turning off your omniscience, that's essentially what he did when he gave Adam and Eve the choice in the garden. And that was a single tree in a garden that was without end as far as like sustenance and things that it could provide. And with the free choice that he gave them, the explicit direction was not to eat from the tree. So
I'm going to reject that he turned off his omniscience. I'm going to reject that. There's no claim or evidence in the Bible that he turned his omniscience off at any point.
Okay. But I mean, even regardless, the whole purpose of mankind being created was to provide free will in order so that people could choose whether or not to like believe in him. Like that is the unending test, right? That is like the ongoing test that has sort of.
Why do some people get to engage in that free will and some don't?
Everybody gets to engage in that free will.
That's not true. When it comes to some people's free will, God absolutely intervenes. Look at what he did to the Pharaoh during in Egypt. He said to Moses, "You will go and ask the Pharaoh to free your people, but I'm going to harden the Pharaoh's heart so he won't." God literally says, "I'm going to harden the Pharaoh's heart." That is God affecting the Pharaoh's free will. Why didn't the Pharaoh have free will? Why does God pick and choose who gets free will?
I mean, I would sort of be winning your argument for you if I was able to sit here and say why he did the things that he did, because that's sort of, we don't know why he makes the choices that he makes or why the plan is the way it is, but it's that's why it all comes back down to faith and free will of choice and choosing that regardless of all of the things that have been, done in history and regardless of things that have been stated in scripture, like the ultimate choice is whether or not you still choose to like give your faith and give your life to God and provide, or sort of like, give that unending faith, regardless of whether or not good and evil is affecting your life, or regardless of whether or not like you feel like you don't have the free will or free choice to do so.
Yeah, but again, in the Pharaoh instance isn't even the only time that God has done this. God has multiple times engaged in things that remove people's free will and heavily influence those people to make decisions that God wants them to. Usually at the expense of people he claims to love. So for instance, God hardened the heart of the Canaanites so that they would fight Israel and be destroyed. The king of the Canaanites, God literally hardened his heart as well because he wanted the Canaanites to fight against Israel. That's not them getting free will. That is quite literally the opposite of free will. If it is the case that God wants us to have free will, we need to have free will. It can't be a sometimes thing. It has to be an all or nothing. But if we're sitting here saying, well, God can sometimes influence free will, especially when it's for things he wants. Well, why? First of all, why were all the things he wants hurting Israelites, right? Like most of the time he engaged in free will, it was to hurt his like quote unquote chosen people. But like this to me would show that we don't have free will. God can affect our free will whenever he wants.
I mean, I would say that it's more influential than it is like taking the sticks up on a video game controller and making the choices.
If God even
like
if it's influential, if God
parent,
influences us, that's not free will. If God can get into your heart and mind,
you still have free will regardless of influence. As a parent, I can influence my child.
Yes, you're not a God.
As I want, right?
Yeah, but you're not a God. We don't know what you influence your child doesn't mean your child is 100% going to do that. God's is. If God is saying to Moses, God said to Moses, when you go speak to the Pharaoh, you are going to ask him to let your people go. I am going to harden his heart so he says no. He would have said yes had God not done this, but God is going to harden his heart and make the Pharaoh say no. That's not free will.
I mean, I would say that the hardening of a heart does not necessarily mean that you are making a choice for someone. Like, you can harden someone's will and harden someone's emotions and thoughts against the thing, but ultimately, like, that individual still has a choice to make regardless of, or even in spite of, the hardness that has been sort of tempered on.
But the Lord
on their
says
decision.
specifically, I'm going to do this so he won't let your people go. I'm going to do this so that he will not let your people go, which is implying that the Pharaoh might have let his people go before this. Not only that, God hardened the Pharaoh's heart, right? Made the Pharaoh say, I won't let your people go, and then killed a fuck ton of firstborn Egyptian kids because of it. That's not free will. You are making it so the Pharaoh says no, and then you're killing a bunch of firstborn kids because why not? If it's about free will, why not just see what the Pharaoh would have done without your influence? Why is God acting like Satan and influencing people? That's not free will.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just kind of running in circles at this point. I don't really have anything new to say to that. I mean, it's sort of, like God being an all-knowing or being an omnipresent figure, like inherently you would have to be able to be capable of, if you created good and evil, you would have to be capable of both good and evil. But I don't think that makes that being inherently evil or makes it an evil being.
Okay, I'll end it here then, and I will say a being that forces his favorite people into slavery and then kills a bunch of children after he makes it so they don't get released from that slavery is definitely not a good being. Whether you want to call that being evil or not, I would never call that being good. But thank you for calling in then, Doug. You have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. Can I just make one final note here?
Okay.
For you being someone who is so like, you know, against Christianity, I genuinely appreciate how like educated you are on scripture and the knowledge that you have on that. So just a final note there, and I appreciate the conversation.
Yep, no problem. You have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, I'm staunchly against the idea that we have free will based on the Christian God. Ugh. Okay, let's do our thank yous before we move on to the next call. Richard, thank you, Richard, for the... Oh, that's the wrong one I wanted. Richard, thank you so much for the Venmo. Watching you live and enjoying the show, you helped change my mind on trans issues. Oh, Richard, awesome. So we're going to say thank you to Richard. Ignore my handwriting, but here's a thank you to Richard. Also, thank you to Shelby. Shelby, thank you so much for the Cash App. Shelby said, thank you for the gentle parenting in the debates. Shelby, thank you so much. Here's a thank you to you. Let's update this now. And then we have a couple of super chats. Let's take a look at all of those. Let me get all of them. Oops. Sorry, I'm just adding all the super chats to the queue that I missed. Okay, let's peep our super chats now. First up from Vampy. Vampy said, hi. Hi to you too, Vampy. Then from John Lee. John Lee said, still floored by that plumber shit. Oh, from the video I released today? Yeah. Argument I've never heard before was an argument from plumbing. Oh, why is this off? Okay, thank you. Next up is from Pibblepunk. Thanks for kicking transphobes' asses for us. Genuinely makes me feel less afraid to be seen in public. Hey, you're welcome. I don't know why it's doing that, so I guess we'll just start from up here. Let's Fail Gaming said he hardened Pharaoh's heart to show how flawed the Egyptian gods were. Okay, he still removed the Pharaoh's free will. Like, that doesn't defeat that, so yikes. Megan said, Jovan Chair Fund. Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you so much, friend. Next up from Red Fairy DF said, put this towards a new chair. I worry about your back pain. Thank you for being so amazing. I love it when you were on the line. Congratulations. Thank you. My back is killing me today. I really got to call my doctor and just like get an MRI or something and see what the fuck is going on. From the Behold Network said the Old Testament God isn't all knowing, by the way. He asks Adam, where are you in Genesis 3:9? I think the Bible makes plenty of claims that he's all-knowing. Specifically, in where is it? Hold on, let me go to my. I got to give you guys my Bible source document too. It's different from my like main source document. In the Old Testament, in Psalm, said, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely." I think this is partly saying that he's all-knowing. God declare Isaiah 46:9-10. He says, "The end from the beginning," or God declares he knows the end from the beginning, from ancient times, what is still to come. And then Job 37:16, God is described as like perfect in knowledge. So I think these are just examples of him saying, of like claims that he's all-knowing. Not that I believe he's all-knowing, but also I believe the Old Testament is contradictory as fuck. So wouldn't shock me as well. I just think there's a lot of contradictions in the Bibles. Okay, let's open up the call-in lines. How long have we been debating today? About 2 hours. I'll try to keep going. Remember, first come, first serve. For when it comes to debates. Actually, let me go refill my water bottle. I'm going to refill my water really quickly, and then we'll keep going with debates. So let me refill my water. Get ready to call in. Talk amongst yourselves, chat. I'm going to refill my water, and then we'll get going. Okay, got my water. Hello? What was that noise? Okay, let's open the call line back up. Call away. First come, first serve. What did that just say? Okay. That was obvious. White House is looking to get more funding for security for Supreme Court. Ooh, did we go through all the debaters? Damn. We ran through all of them? Interesting. I didn't expect us to ran through all of them so quickly. Yikes. Well, 9:15. I sit a lot. Yeah. Is that why my back be hurting? $11. So 2 hours since I last ate. As a West Coast listener, it's much too early for chuds. I think they'll be fine. Unfortunately, I can't stream at night. Physically can't do it. Nice. Sorry, I had to check my sugars. Hello, are you here to debate?
Nah, just a clarifying question.
Okay, the lines are dead right now, so that's fine. What's
I'm
your
feeling
name,
awesome.
age, and pronouns?
Feel very lucky. This is the third time Zama came through. How you doing, bro?
Oh, what's up, bro?
33. Yeah. Hilarious how last time they were kicking the goal. We wrapped it up anyway. Shout out to YouTube chat. All the monies. Anyway, clarifying question on your last prompt. Rights, hypocrisy. Can you clarify what that prompt means?
Yeah, the right is decrying the left as a party that is seeking political violence, and then decrying that they're this party of peace who just wants meaningful conversation. And it's like fundamentally untrue. They get mad at the way people respond to Kirk's death, even though they glorify violence and death all the time. A direct example of this could be like, let's look at like Laura Loomer. When Alligator Alcatraz opened, she claimed that alligators would now get 600, or she said like 600 alligators will now have their bellies filled or something like that. Essentially saying that like the alligators are going to all eat the immigrants, right? And then got really upset that people are saying stuff about Kirk dying. It's just hypocrisy. And they're free speech absolutists. They just don't give a shit about free speech if the free speech is not coming from them, right? They changed their ideals on free speech real quick. And I don't believe that if your ideals change because somebody was mean to you or somebody did something you don't like, that's not you holding fast to your ideals. That just means your ideals were never like solidified in the first place.
Okay. No, thank you for the clarification. And I guess I would have a follow-up question, and then I'm totally done. We can open up the lines again. What is your I've been thinking to myself, what if they were like, oh, he's a trans leftist liberal shooter. It wasn't. But what if it was? You know what I mean?
I don't. The background of a shooter means nothing unless we're claiming that all people of one specific background should all be punished because one of them does something. If that's the case, the majority of shooters that are straight white men. Should we now labast straight white men now should not be able to own guns because a bunch of straight white men have historically everyone that's ever shot at a president tends to be a straight white man. Right? Should it's dumb. The only reason they're trying to do it is because the right likes to win by othering. And so trans people are their current others right now. If they didn't care about trans people, it would be he was an immigrant. If they didn't care about immigrants, it would be he was black. If they it's just kind of it's stupid. Truthfully, I think it's a really dumb thing. So they're trying to imply some correlation between trans people and violence when we know that statistically trans people experience violence more than cis people. It's just kind of silly.
Well, thanks for the clarifications and answering a couple questions while the lines were calm, because it's like no one said the quiet part out loud, right? Like essentially what you said, like there's no correlation. And then even if it was, you can't, it's like you having your cake and eat it too. He's a peace-loving martyr at the same time garnering a bullet for the same shit from people who held him to his word. It's like they want their cake and they want to eat it and they want the icing on the top of the cake and they want ice cream on the side. And it's just like, no, even if it was, no. It doesn't condone, maybe, sure, this sucks, but no. But anyway, Javon, thanks a bunch. Keep playing the horror games as well. Shout out to Topical Zeitgeist Topics. Love to see it. And take care of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. You have a good one. Yo, guys, Steam is having a political fest right now where they're selling a bunch of political games. Crazy time to do this. Democratic Socialism Simulator for 80 cents? Why not? I don't even know what this is, but why the fuck not? For 80 cents? I am your president. Play as a fictional U.S. president in this satirical narrative strategy. Lead Democrats or Republicans to make America great again. This shit looks terrible. It's got terribly mixed reviews. Osterliege, the Berlin Wall, the Political Machine 2024. What is this? Win the hearts and minds of American voters and run for president in this political strategy game. Choose a candidate or fuck it. It's for $8. Let's add it to the cart. Should we do like themed weeks? Like we play specific themes of games every week? Maybe this week, Beholder 2. You're an intern at the Central Ministry of Totalitarian State with your whole career. I don't know. Why is Paper Please not on this list? You would think that would be a... This is the President is a political thriller. You are the newly elected leader with a shady background. It's up to you to abuse the position, the most powerful man in the world, to escape justice for past crimes. Who's that sound like? Headliner, if you controlled the news. Fuck it. I like this one, looks cool. Add it to the list. Oh, line's open. Whoops. The Political Process. Overwhelmingly positive reviews. Explore a dynamic world of politics in this turn-based political simulator. Create a character, run for political office, write legislation, balance budgets, and more as you move up the political hierarchy. Fuck it. Add it to the list. Bro, if your game came out in 2019, don't call it early access anymore. Just at that point, be like, we're never releasing the game, bro. Oh, shit. They're still doing updates. Never mind. Hello, are you here to debate? Hello? 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 Okay. Leo, thank you for the Venmo. Said Jovan low diff MAGA Nazis in the Thunderdome. Crazy. It's kind of funny. Emmett, thank you for the cash for the Venmo. Said always love watching your streams. As a trans man, I feel very seen. Just love your method of debate. Thank you so much. Taylor said, thank you for being you. You're single-handedly keeping me sane during these times. I just want to live in some precedented times. Thank you, teacher Taylor. Thank you guys so much. Let me update the goal. Twitch, you almost won a giveaway. Like, you know, you're so close, Twitch. What a great take, caller. No, dead ass. That was an amazing one. Hey, thank you for the gifted subs over on Twitch. Will you ever do Dumb Jeopardy again? Good thing you asked. I am bringing back game show nights. It will be a once a month charity streams. So I'll let you know when the first one is, and I'm gonna have guests on, and they're gonna be streams where we raise money for different charitable organizations. Once a month, we're gonna be doing that. I don't know what the first one is gonna be. I'm slightly pivoting a little bit. So maybe the first one will be Dumb Jeopardy. I just gotta find 3 contestants. And what's a good first charity? Oh, my back. My neck and my back. Hello, are you here to debate?
Hey, is this Javon?
Yep.
I guess it's kind of a debate. I just have a couple of questions about gender affirming care for minors.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns?
My name is CJ. I'm 23. He, him.
Okay, CJ, what were your questions?
So I've kind of just recently, I don't know, within the past couple of years, kind of shifted over very far left. I used to be very just, I don't know, just really edgy and that type of shit. And my question is, like, what my initial reaction to hearing about gender affirming care is like, oh, kids probably shouldn't have permanent changes to their body and then, end up regretting it later. But then, I learned the regret rate is really low. And I've heard that the younger you start that kind of thing, the more, the better, I guess the easier the transition is, or the better the transition is. What's your kind of take on that?
Yeah, so when I look at gender affirming care, I just look at, are the benefits of whatever care we're giving to somebody, do they outweigh the risks of that care? And then I look at who should be making that decision. And ultimately, I think that comes down to parents and doctors. But I think for some people, they absolutely do. If I had a child who was severely gender dysphoric and I knew that giving them, like, for instance, puberty blockers would prevent them from self-harm or suicidality, not just committing suicide, but even just prevent them from having the thought of committing suicide, right? Just prevent them from wanting to commit suicide. I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat, 100%.
Okay. I think that's really all I had. I mean, I just needed some more information about that. I guess I could just Google it, but I'm CJ, the son of DJ in chat, and Summer Lovin', why did you get mad at me for doing Charlie Kirk jokes, and now you're joking in chat? I don't know what did I do to deserve that? That's not fair.
That's funny.
Well, anyway, I love your content, man. Keep up what you're doing.
Hey, for sure. Thank you for calling in.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It might be game time, chat. It might be looking like it's game time. Oh, maybe not. Hello, are you here to debate?
I don't know debate, but I watch your stuff and I just had a quick comment.
Comment about what specifically?
I mean, Christian religion.
If it's quick.
We'd probably be over it by now. It'll be quick.
Sure.
So, you want my info or?
No, if it's just a quick comment, go ahead.
Okay. So, you have on there that the Christianity religion is evil, right? Christian religion is evil.
The God of the Christian Bible, specifically.
God of the Christian Bible. Okay, even better. Because there's two other major religions that are also heavily based on the Christian Bible, which is where most of the evil takes place in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not... So, just to put the Christian God, I think is a little dishonest.
Well, if those gods are based around the Christian Bible, then they would also be evil. So
Yeah, but I think it's you not wanting to put Muslim and Judaism.
if the God
And you're just calling
if the
out
God of
Christianity.
Islam and the God of Judaism is also an all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful being that's supposedly all good, then I would say that they're also evil. But the difference is I know about Christianity, so it's something I can actually talk about. I don't really know as much when it comes to Judaism, or especially when it comes to Islam. I know like next to nothing about like the religion and what the religion says. Plus, currently, Judaism and Islam are not threatening our country with like an ultra nationalistic movement, so I don't really feel the need to talk about them at the moment.
Understood, and I'm not, a theologian or anything to begin with, but I do want to say, they're based off of the Old Testament, and it's all the same God, that they all worship, and then all the offshoots of prophets and messiahs to come are all based on the same God. I just think if you put all three of them, one, you might get more debate, and two, that's pretty common knowledge.
But like I said, the things I don't debate things I don't have knowledge about, right? So if I put all three of them and someone called in to talk about Islam, I don't know anything about the Quran. I've not read it. I've not studied it like I have the Bible. So if they bring up, if they're like, well, this in the Quran says this, I just have to go like, okay, I have to take your word for it. I don't know enough about it. So it would just be a pointless debate.
Yeah, I bet you could like Google the Quran and find like 10 things pretty fast.
I'm not gonna put a debate topic on where I have to like Google every single point I say though. I'd like to actually know what I'm talking about.
I would just suggest if you can, and in your free time, do a little bit of research. You'll see that you could connect all three of them together, and then hopefully one day that topic says Muslim, Jewish, and Christianity. I feel like it's just goats to Christians, and there's plenty of other people to goat with that comment. So I love your stuff. I disagree with a lot of your stuff, but you make me look at things a whole different way. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. How long have we been doing this now for? What's our time on YouTube? 2 hours and 20 minutes. What's my time on Twitch? My back hurts. I don't know, actually. About 3 hours. Do I want to move to gaming for the last hour of stream? Or am I tired? Javon, go see a doctor. Guys, back pain for over a week isn't that serious, right? I will probably get a Secret Labs chair. They're so expensive, but I kind of like them. But I don't know. The problem is I need to sit in a chair. I need to sit in it to know if I like it. The pain will get worse with pressure or worse when you release. I don't think it changes whether I'm pressing on it or not. It's right here. I think most things have return policy. Maybe you just need to go poopies. You're right. I just need to go poopies. Poopies. So interesting to see which of my videos blow up on Instagram versus how they blow up like literally on any other platform. Like I'll have a video with over 100,000 views on Instagram and it will get 1,000 views on TikTok. I should just re-upload them, right? I should just like literally re-upload the same video. You know what? Let's fucking try it. What happens if I just re-upload this fucking video? I'm very interested to see what will happen if I just re-upload this video. Let's title it. It'll be very interesting.
Thank you, Boo.
I want more Jovan the Street content. I'm not doing public debates right now. Y'all crazy. They out here sniping heads. They out here. Okay. I re-uploaded. Let's see how this video does. Be crazy if this video does well after re-uploading it. Discord's got shooters is crazy. What game do we want to play for the last hour of stream, chat?
Thank you, Boo.
Let's see how the video did on Facebook. Damn, it didn't do well on Facebook either. It's so random which of my videos take off on like which platforms. Interesting. I re-uploaded the same video and now it's under review. Interesting. Hey, this godforsaken app. Yo, the Helldivers community manager must have been losing his fucking mind, dude. Surprisingly, I don't get a lot of crazy comments on Facebook. You would think, right? Virtual nursing home. Oh, this is so interesting. So this video is now in review jail. Maybe the other one's not doing well because it's getting shut down basically. All right, actually, I can't sit in this chair anymore, so I'm gonna have to play games later. My back is starting to kill me. Thank you guys for watching the stream today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for chilling. Thank you for engaging. Thank you to everybody who tipped and sent super chats. I love you all. We will be back tomorrow. Typically 10 o'clock is when I go live, but could be a little later, could be a little sooner. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Remember, I don't know. Fuck it. I don't know. Goodbye, child.